All right, it is Thursday, July 16th, and Thursday means Anna Navarro Day. How are you, Anna?
I'm okay.
We do not have Cha-Cha, which I'm concerned about. I think the Cha-Cha cam was ready. She's not here.
The Cha-Cha cam is not ready.
It might have been ready. We don't know. But where is Cha-Cha?
Cha-Cha's in Miami. She had to go to the vet because we are traveling out of the country. And every time you travel out of the country, it usually requires USDA endorsed forms that the foreign country requires. And so that's a whole process.
So this is vacation prep for Cha-Cha.
So she had to go get her passport. Basically, she had to go get her visa.
She's not getting one of those Trump passports.
No, she had to go get her visa. Is what basically Cha-Cha stayed in Miami because she had to go to the vet to get her visa.
All right. Well, hopefully she won't have any immigration problems and everything will be fine. But we miss her here, of course.
I don't know. She's a brown Latina bitch with an attitude.
Yeah, and a Latina name.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. All right, so let's dive in.
Maybe I'll pretend it's Jaja.
Jaja?
Like Gabor?
Yeah, that's not bad. Green Acres. All right, let's talk about these ICE shootings. This is horrible. It keeps the fact that we're still talking about this far into the year, that these keep happening. There were fatal ICE shootings in Texas and Maine. They've been top of mind for you. What do you want people to know about these stories that maybe everyone isn't aware of?
So many things. First of all, the people that have gotten killed were not criminals. I had this debate yesterday on CNN because the Trumpers want to justify this by calling them criminals. Listen, these last two executions, because I'm going to call them executions by government agents of ICE, were people with no criminal records. This last one in Maine, Juan Sebastian Guerrero, 26-year-old Colombian national, he had a work permit. If you have a work permit, that means you are here under some sort of legal status. You don't get a work permit, even if it's a temporary work permit, unless you have a pending asylum claim or you have some sort of pending immigration claim that gives you legal status while that, and that's the time that the work permit is pending. He had a 3-year-old baby girl in the back of the car in her bluey pajamas and her pink, her pink backpack. This is just, he was going to work. And again, these last two cases, I mean, every single case has been egregious. And there's been more than 7 of them, names that we should all know, because we shouldn't just look at these executions as statistics. These are people that had names, that had lives, that had families, that had work, that had people who loved them, that had children, that had a future, that had a right to exist and not be executed in the streets of America. And it's included U.S. citizens getting executed. But I want people to go look at the names, to go research the stories. I want people to remember this when it comes to November, that, we cannot be a country where the government gets to kill with impunity. There's been no accountability. They wouldn't even, the man who died in Texas, Araujo, Salgado Araujo, Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, they wouldn't even release the body to the family. So we've had over 7 people killed since Trump took office with actual interactions. We'd have over 50 who have died in ICE custody. These are human beings. But let's focus on these last 2, which happened within a week of each other. That in itself is shocking because people were protesting and spotlighting the horrible circumstances of the death of Lorenzo Salgado Araujo in Texas. And not even a week later, it happens again. You would think that if they were under such spotlight and under such pressure with the investigation with Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, they would be more deliberate and they would try to avoid doing exactly the same thing, if not worse, within a week in Maine. But they didn't, which tells you that these ICE agents don't give a damn. They don't care. They don't feel any responsibility or duty or pressure to act humanely and to act according to procedure. Can you imagine the danger you're putting, not just the person you've killed? They pumped 4 bullets into this man's head through the windshield of his car with his baby girl sitting in the back seat and witnessing this. Then they dragged this man, his limp, bloodied body, out of the car, and they had the gall, the indignity of handcuffing this man as he was either dead or dying. Why do you need to handcuff a corpse other than to humiliate even further, to dehumanize even further? And I just want to know how many more mothers and fathers, how many more humans need to be executed by the government of the United States before the people of this country rise up and say no more?
Well, people are upset. They're definitely upset. And I think it's having an impact. And you can see that because even Tom Homan was saying we need to pause these traffic stops. Then the president walked it back. But
these traffic stops have been the height of negligence and irresponsibility and recklessness. First of all, you've got a bunch of brand new ICE agents who've been plucked from God knows where, who are getting less training than they did. Then you've got all of these mistakes being made, right? In these last two instances, the one in Maine, the one in Texas, neither of these men were the target of their investigations. They were supposedly targeting in Maine a man who had a deportation order. It wasn't this man. Same thing happened in Texas. They were targeting the wrong person. And so just what is that an excuse? Is that a justification? They're shooting and they're ramming people off the road in the middle of daylight. I mean, they're not even doing this in the cover of night. Can you imagine what they do to people when folks aren't watching? Can you imagine what they would do if there wasn't video? And they're not wearing the damn body cams that have been funded now for months. And they blame that
on the Democratic shutdown.
On the Democratic shutdown.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he can be repairing his reflecting pool, and he can be building his ballroom, and he can be doing all of these other things. But they can't get body cams on agents.
It's tragic, beyond tragic, and infuriating.
And it's, you know what it feels like, and the part that just hits me so hard, it feels, and listen, and there's U.S. citizens that have been killed.
Yes,
of course, Alex Preddy, Renee Good, Keith Porter Jr., the young man in Texas. There's been the U.S. citizen, the teacher, the young teacher who she was shot a bunch of times in Chicago. I mean, there's been U.S. citizens that have been shot. There's been U.S. citizens that have been killed. But when you watch these last two instances, when you read and learn about these last two instances, it feels like in this country, and certainly for this government, the lives of brown people, of immigrants, of Latinos don't mean much, are lesser than everybody else in this country, that somehow they can get away with hunting and killing time after time, lying about it, not being held accountable for it, not having thorough investigations of these executions, and nothing happens.
They're promising investigations now. I understand why you wouldn't have any faith in them.
There hasn't even been thorough investigations of the white blonde people that were killed. Mm-hmm. You mean, who's going to do the thorough investigations?
The FBI.
Right.
Yeah.
Kash Patel.
That's what they're saying.
Todd Blanche. That's why there needs to be a change in November, and why I'm asking people to hold these names in their heads as they go and vote. Because if we have any hope for accountability, if we have any hope for investigations, it's got to come from Congress, and it's got to come from Democrats in Congress, because it's from a Democratic majority, because Republicans have shown time and time again that they are willing to look the other way at the abuses of power by the Trump
It does seem like this is getting through to some Republicans, so that this is becoming...
Because we're 4 months from an election.
Yeah.
And it's going to cost them votes. I mean, Susan Collins is in a very tight race in Maine. Mm-hmm. This isn't going to help her.
No.
And, I think people voted for the worst of the worst, for people with criminal convictions, for gang members, for rapists to be deported and have the full extent of the law thrown at them. They did not vote. I would bet you that most Americans did not vote for fathers to be shot in front of their toddlers.
I think you're right about that. Another thing we talked about this week, it's been a big news week. Lindsey Graham passed away, Senator Lindsey Graham. And you actually, and I don't know why this would be surprising to anybody who knows you, but in the press, people were surprised that you were condemning those celebrating his death, which is crazy. But talk to me about why it was important for you to do that and talk about this. This is someone you knew, obviously, and disagreed with very much in recent years. But
well, because I think that if I'm going to have the moral standing to condemn the attacks by Trump on dead people, like Rob Reiner, like John McCain, like Bob Mueller, then I have to be consistent and condemn those types of rejoiceful celebrations when it's Lindsey Graham. And I fully understand people being against Lindsey's policies. I fully understand people highlighting his inconsistencies, his hypocrisy, his 180-degree turn in recent years. I knew Lindsey Graham extremely well before Trump. I haven't spoken to Lindsey in years. I haven't spoken to Lindsey probably since John McCain died, maybe even before that, because he started to turn. I haven't spoken to him for the same reason that I haven't spoken to Marco Rubio, for the same reason that I haven't spoken to Pam Bondi, because I'm just so disgusted and heartbroken and appalled by the way that they changed their principles and their convictions and supposedly everything they stood for. Nobody was a bigger advocate for immigration reform than Lindsey Graham used to be. Nobody condemned the excesses of Donald Trump as much as people like Lindsey Graham did. There's video of it. And then we saw him become a complete Trump lackey. And I know why he did it, because I know Lindsey. I know for Lindsey, the ends justified the means. And for him, the end was to stay in the Senate and to stay having influence and to stay being relevant. And he figured out, it was very simple. Lindsey Graham was a very smart guy. He figured out very quickly that the way to have influence was to suck up to Trump. And he did it better than anyone. And so it meant that he got some of the things that he cared about and that he wanted. And so I think that people like Marco and people who has also sold his soul, Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio sold their souls in order to be in the sphere of influence, in order to be in the circle of power, in order to be in the good graces of Trump. With Lindsey Graham, I think it's a little more complicated because, you know, Lindsey became an orphan very early on in life. He was 19 when his dad died of a cardiac event, and his mom died less than 2 years later. And I think for Lindsey, having like a strong male figure, like a Batman to his Robin, was always kind of very important to him. And McCain was that for a long time. I have a really hard time understanding how somebody could have been as close to John McCain as Lindsey Graham was. And I witnessed that. It was a genuine brotherhood. It was a genuine love and respect and friendship. I don't understand how you could be that way with John McCain and then turn around within days, months of his death and be sucking up to Trump, who attacked John McCain in life and after death.
It's like Robin joining up with the Joker instead of Batman. There you go.
And so, look, I think you can talk about all these things. I think you can talk about what his legacy was.
Right, it's all fair game.
I think you can talk about his, his policies. I think you can talk about his lack of conviction and principle, and the metamorphosis for the worse that he went through in the last few months. But I still don't think you get to rejoice because of a guy had a cardiac arrest and died suddenly in the middle of the night. It just doesn't feel right.
No, I feel the same way. And Lindsey Graham, what I liked about Lindsey Graham, he came on this show. I appreciated that. He was on the show 4 times.
I wish Marco Rubio would because I have things I'd like to ask.
We've asked many times.
But it brought out all sorts of feelings in me because I can't tell you how much I liked hanging out with Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham was a barrel of fun. He had a sense of humor equal to none, certainly amongst Congress people. He was incredibly relatable. He never forgot where he came from. He was just so Southern, and he was self-deprecating about his Southern idiosyncrasy. During the McCain campaign in 2008, a lot of times he and I would sit together in the campaign plane, and I think part of the reason that happened was because neither he nor I were morning people, and everybody else was. Like everybody else was up and chipper and energetic and doing all these things in the morning, and we just weren't fit for human interaction.
Right.
So somehow we wound up sitting next to each other because we wouldn't begin talking.
You didn't want to talk to each other or anybody else. Yeah,
exactly. We didn't want to talk to each other. We didn't want to be talked to.
I understand.
And so that until we woke up, that kind of worked. And he, I can't tell you how many times I would get a phone call because he'd see me on TV or because he had something he wanted to talk about. And this was before Trump. Hey Anna, it's Lindsey. He would pick up the phone. He was very, very accessible, and the reason it brought up all sorts of feelings is because I miss that Lindsey Graham. That Lindsey Graham disappeared for me. I feel like I buried Lindsey Graham when John McCain died. I feel like I've buried Marco Rubio because I can't forgive these guys for what they've done. I can't forgive these guys, and I'll tell you why I can't forgive them, because they know better. Lindsey knew better. Marco Rubio knew better. But they're just so blinded by power and ambition that they're willing to rationalize the fact that they have sold out every principle they once held in order to be in the good graces. But it means that I'm never going to get to have that conversation with Lindsey. So it's, it was.
Well, maybe it'll happen with Marco. You never know.
Listen, I'm sure Marco and I are going to run into each other at some point. He's going to come back to Miami at some point. I'm sure that there's going to be a point when we run into each other. I'm so disgusted by him. I really am.
Speaking of people like Lindsey Graham that you say are a good hang, you recently spoke with Hunter Biden, who, by all accounts from his social media, very entertaining man. I'm fascinated by this turn he's made publicly to talk about things and to be accessible. Tell me what this conversation was like. I
love it. So I interviewed him yesterday, actually, for my podcast, Bleep with Anna Navarro, which you should all be listening to. And I wanted him on because I've been seeing his social media, and he has become the biggest troll. But it's also, he does it also with humor.
Yeah.
Like, like somebody said to him on Twitter, "Oh, that was your Coke that you forgot, that in that they found in the White House." And he's like, "No, I would have never forgotten my Coke." Listen, I think he is, look, this is a guy who for years, almost a decade, at least 7-8 years, has been attacked, has been maligned, has been the whipping boy, and, the stereotypical junkie portrayed as that by Republicans, and hasn't been able to fight back
at all
or speak out because his father was president. So I think he's getting to be unfiltered and unmuscled, and it's incredibly entertaining. I also think he feels a duty to defend his father's legacy. He talks a lot about, I listened to his book before sitting down with him. And funny enough, despite the fact that I know Joe Biden very well, I know Jill Biden, I know his sister Ashley, I know his daughter Naomi. I had never actually spoken with Hunter Biden. I had seen him at some White House events. I remember seeing him with his little boy at the White House Christmas tree lighting and at some other White House social events. But I think during those years, either he himself purposely or they kept him from having too many interactions because I think people stayed away from him and he stayed away from people. So this was the first time that I actually got to sit with him and talk to him. We talked a lot about addiction. We talked a lot about grief and loss. As you know, my brother died as well. My big brother died 25 years ago. So I know what it's like to have the family dynamic change completely. I know what it's like to see the pain of your parents have to bury a child. And I've also, my family, as so many, I think most American families, has dealt with addiction. I've shared before. Al's eldest daughter from his first marriage died from the consequences of drug addictions. Her name was Joanna. And so for me, and I've seen so many of my friends suffer with children with addictions, and just, it consumes their life. I mean, when you have a kid, when you have a loved one, a family member who's an addict and kind of like in the streets, you don't sleep, you don't live. You're trying to function, and you have to show up, and you have to go to work, and you have to do your things. But every day, every night, you're afraid you're going to get a phone call that your kid is in jail, or your kid is dead, or your kid has been found, in a hospital, or God knows what. And so I really kind of wanted to talk to him about his journey with addiction, his struggle, and how he got out of it. Because
he seems like he's doing okay.
He's doing okay. He says, look, he says that the hole in him has been filled. He also says he's never alone. He works on it. He says, I don't take it for granted. I work on it every single day. And I think the fact that his family, that his father never gave up on him, never stopped calling, that his daughters, despite the fact that they were mad at him, right? That he wasn't there for them, that he never stopped calling him. So, I just think listening to him, particularly for families that are enduring this struggle right now and just feel hopeless and wondering, will there ever be light at the end of the tunnel? Because, I don't know if you've had addiction in your family, but like Al tells me that, he paid rehab after rehab after rehab, and nothing worked. He could never, when he didn't have the money to pay for rehabs, but which are very expensive.
Yes.
And so it was a fascinating conversation. He's got a lot of grudges, justifiable if you ask me, against people who once lived off his father or who have lived on, in the wake of his father, and then turned against his father in public. But he's really a very smart, multifaceted, multi-layered human being. And I always thought about him, it's like, okay, what qualification did Hunter Biden have to be on the board of Burisma or in any board? He's like a Yale graduated lawyer who'd been on a bunch of different corporate boards, who did so many things before, he fell into addiction. Then and we talked a lot about double standards.
Right.
Double standards when it comes to his dad's health and Donald Trump's health. Double standards when it comes to pardons. People had a fit when Joe Biden pardoned him, and yet here's Donald Trump pardoning the worst of the worst, including 1,500 insurrectionists, giving them a blanket pardon. We talked about the double standards when it comes to, the weaponization of DOJ. Just double standard after double standard after double standard that we see happening. The monetization of the presidency. The fact that Hunter got dragged through the coals and brought into a congressional hearing by Republicans for the money that he was making in Burisma, which is not even chump change in comparison to the billions of dollars that the Trump family has made off the presidency. And while his father was president, he didn't make any money. He made money off his paintings. And that's another thing. Like, I thought, okay, so he started painting to, sell paintings to his father's donors while his, like every painting he sold had to go through vetting. And he had been painting his entire life. This isn't like George W. Bush, who started painting cats after he left the presidency, which Joy wants to do. Joy says she wants to learn how to paint, when she retires, which will be never.
But painting a lot of audience members, I think.
Yes, but so it was. Hunter Biden is riveting. We talked for over an hour and a half. Here's the problem: the interview was scheduled at the same exact time as the Argentina versus England game.
So you missed a game.
So I missed the game, and the guy doing the video was British. And so, I was trying not to look at him because he looked pained. And then after I finished, I understood why.
Well, the only reason I knew you were interviewing Hunter Biden is because you texted me and said, I'm about to interview Hunter Biden. Keep me apprised of goals in the Argentina.
Yeah, because as you know,
yes,
I have now become very invested in the World Cup.
yes.
I don't know how I'm going to fill the hole that's going to be left in my schedule.
We're going to find another sport for you.
Which one do you think I could do?
Well, it seems like it's mostly about the attractiveness of the.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you feel about tennis players?
Love tennis.
Okay, so
players.
you got the U.S. Open coming up at the end of the summer. That's something.
What good-looking tennis players are there?
I mean, I'm looking at the other kind, but I don't know. They're men. They're good looking. We can look at it.
Listen, Carlos Alcaraz really could be like my grandchild.
Okay.
Sinner, I don't know. Never been into gingers, unlike you.
Djokovic.
Is he still playing?
He's
He's an
Yeah.
anti-vaxxer. I've actually met
Yeah.
him. I met him at Eva Longoria's 50th birthday.
Oh.
And no, I'm
Not for you.
No.
All right. I'll give you a list. We'll find another sport for
What
you.
other
I think.
what other sport is there?
there's
Men
baseball.
with good legs? No, they're too covered up.
There's a lot of.
And by the way, there's a lot of men in baseball that aren't.
but there's Latino
And
men.
baseball it takes forever. One of the things that I like about soccer is that it's 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And it pretty much is 90 minutes unless it goes into overtime. It's like maybe if it's in regular time at most it's like 100 minutes. So it's over and done with.
American
I
football,
also
you want
like the
nothing to do with.
hydration breaks, which to me means go have some wine.
Yeah.
But here's the problem I have. So as you know, I bet on Argentina.
Yes.
Like a month and a half ago?
Before the tournament started.
Before the tournament started, I bet on Argentina. And I still think they're going to win because
Mm-hmm.
I think Messi is that great and because I think they want it that much. Also, the team dynamic amongst the Argentina team is just, it is really something to behold. And it comes across even for an untrained eye like mine. I still think they're going to win, but I also love Spain. Like if you said to me, where would you rather live, Argentina or Spain? It would be Spain. But I bet money on Argentina.
Yes.
And I'm kind of rooting for Messi. Have you read this story of Messi and this
Him bathing the kid he's going
yes,
to play against?
bathing the kid?
Yes.
Do you know the story behind that?
He won a lottery of some kind, or
So his parents, so this was a photo shoot for UNICEF, to
Yes.
benefit UNICEF. And this was happening while Messi was playing for Barcelona. And so these kids' parents, and I'm blanking out on his name, the
Yamal
Spanish player.
or- yeah.
Yamal, right. Yeah, he's got the cutest little brother. So this kid's parents enter this UNICEF, and his kids' parents were poor. They enter this raffle, and they win. So there are pictures of Lionel Messi 19 years ago, 20 years ago, bathing a little baby, and that little baby is now one of the star players of the Spain
the
team.
star player. Yeah.
Yeah, so here's Messi doing this at 39 years of age. This kid is, 19 or 20
Yeah.
years of age, and they are now playing against each other, which is, it's like a spectacular that Lionel Messi has been on the world stage of soccer for
that long. Yeah.
this long.
And he's still that good.
So, are you betting?
Well, I've got a little Argentina action.
Because you couldn't bear it, could you?
'Cause I couldn't bear the idea of you winning a lot of money and me not getting a little bit too. So that's what I
So
did.
can I tell you,
Yes.
the two of our guests are going to be at the match. Matt Damon is going to the match. He's married to.
He's on the show Monday. Yep.
He's on the show Monday. He's married to an Argentine, Luciana. I've met her. And the woman that we had on, that we had on today, Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yes.
She was born in Miami, but she grew up in Argentina and speaks perfect Spanish. And I asked her, and she's gonna be at the game as well. So I think yeah, these men are gorgeous. These men have chiseled legs that I can't even.
We'll
begin to
somehow
describe.
find a way to bring attractive men into your life moving forward. I don't know how
But you
it'll
see,
happen.
here's the thing. I don't think soccer. I think I like the World Cup. The idea of their
The countries you like.
well, also, I mean, the immigration aspect of it all. You were at the ESPYs yesterday.
I was.
And
why I'm so
Marcelo
tired.
Hernandez, I saw his intro where he was talking about immigrants in sports. And what
Yes.
did he say?
Oh, he said a couple of things. He said that Americans would just be playing cornhole without immigrants. That would be the only
And you know
sport.
what they did? I don't know, because you were there, so you
Yeah.
didn't see this. When he said that, he said if it wasn't for immigrants, Americans would just be playing cornhole.
Mm-hmm.
They put the camera on Big Papi,
Yes.
who was laughing heartily.
These were your people here. Fat Joe was performing.
Fat Joe performed?
Yeah, yeah.
What is the ESPYs?
It's the ESPN Sports Awards. So basically, they give awards out to like the best NBA player, the best.
So who votes on this?
The fans. And so I think it's like close to like the MTV Awards and things like that. But one thing the ESPYs does better than anybody is they have these human interest stories that are just incredible, and they honor people in the military. They honor people. The Jimmy V Foundation, which fights cancer, is a big part of the ESPYs, and they
was it live or is it?
It's
taped?
live. Yeah, I was there. How could it be? Yeah. And
Which is why you've been yawning this entire program.
I mean, that's every Thursday. But yes, I'm
You don't yawn with everybody else. It's just me who puts you to sleep.
No, I get tired at the end of the week. It's been, the week wears away at me. It's fine. If you're on a Monday, I'm not tired.
Before we go,
Yes.
I want to tell you, I went to the premiere of the Whoopi Monologues.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
And
How was it?
if people get the chance to go, and I'm not sure, I mean,
There aren't a lot of tickets. Yeah.
well, it's a tiny theater. Mm-hmm. It's a tiny theater. It was so great, and I've never watched the Whoopi Monologues. It's amazing to think that Whoopi wrote this in 1984, 85.
She was a kid.
She was a kid. It was a big way for her to get the door open. Mike Nichols put it on Broadway, and that's where like Steven Spielberg first saw her.
For The
She
Color
ended
Purple,
up for The
yeah.
Color Purple. But the fact that she wrote these characters, 40 years ago? Mm-hmm. I was in middle school when these characters were written, and they're still so timeless and so iconic and so relevant, right? The junkie, so it's these different monologues by different characters. The actresses were terrific. It was a great party. Everybody showed up for Whoopi. Everybody showed up. I was sitting next to Angela Bassett, behind Harvey Guillen. Cedric the Entertainer was there. Don Cheadle was there. The woman from The Bear, who's also on Proof with Don Cheadle. Io, what's her name?
Io.
She's brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just it was endless. Shonda Rhimes was endless. Luminaries were there to cheer this on. And you know what happened to me?
What happened to you?
When I was leaving? So I'm leaving. I'm coming to the hotel. I'm going up the elevator. And a woman asked me. She was like a tiny little person. She must have been like, she was, under 5 feet tall. She was tiny. And she asks me, she looks at me and she goes, "Oh, you look nice. So when are you due?"
Oh.
So she asked me when I'm due, and can I tell you something? This has happened to me before. It's happened to any overweight person. Thank God you're not a woman. But you know.
Don Rickles asked me once, but yeah, it was fine.
No, he didn't.
He did. Yeah.
Don Rickles asked you when you were due?
I had produced him a number of times. I've told the story, and he said, "How are things?" I said, "Oh, good. We're having a baby." And then he put his hand on my belly and he said, "When are you due?"
Well, so this woman asks me in the elevator, "When are you due?" And I said, "Lady, I'm not fat. I'm not pregnant. I'm just fat." But I said, and she said, "Oh, no, I'm so sorry. I asked you, what I asked was, what do you do?" And I said, "No, you didn't, lady. You asked me when I'm due, and don't worry about it. Don't sweat it out. I'm 54 years old. I'm actually flattered."
Yeah, I was going to say, it's kind of a compliment
I'm
that
actually
you're...
At 54,
Yeah.
I mean, at 34, I was mortified. At 54, I am flattered. Anybody thinks I am capable of producing a fertile
There's no way you
egg.
look pregnant. That's crazy.
But I did tell her, I did, I said, "I'm not pregnant, and when are you going back to Lilliput?" Yeah.
It's Iowa Debris that's on The Bear, by the way. That's what we're talking.
She's brilliant.
And very, very
She's like,
talented person.
she's won Emmys for her portrayal.
Yeah, she's incredible.
And she's brilliant in Proof, and people haven't gone to see it.
Yeah, she's a great guest, too. I like when she's on here. Speaking of great guests, tomorrow on the show, we have an all-new View with Hannah Waddingham of many things, but for me, Ted Lasso. And Joy is sharing her summer reading picks, so that'll be great. Thank you for joining me, Anna Navarro. We will see you soon. Thank you.
Behind the Table is executive produced by Brian Teta. Supervising producers are Nathan Getty and Summer Shake, with associate producer Emily Darcy and editor Brian Davis. Our director of publicity is Laurie Hogan, and our senior manager of production operation is Enza Dolcenini. From ABC Audio, Trevor Hastings serves as senior producer, with director of podcast programming Josh Cohan.